mastered the art of hiding her scars behind her smiles, Natasha cries herself to sleep every night. You could never tell she is unhappy and in pain, going by her friendly disposition and cheerful looks. It has become her new normal to be woken rudely from sleep by her husband every night. She is coerced into fulfilling her conjugal duties against her wish, irrespective of how tired or even sick she is. With each episode, her resentment grows. The emotional bond she feels towards him lessens. She had tried to speak with him about it, but he simply told her that he paid her bride price in full and owned her body. Spousal rape is one of the most serious violations of a woman's bodily integrity.
You should not force her. She's not an animal. She's a human being, like she's a part of you. Two of you should agree together. It's something that is made in love. It's not something that should be done by force.
According to B.A. Garner, in the Black's Law Dictionary, spousal rape is when a husband has sexual intercourse with his wife forcefully or without her consent. In times past, sexual intercourse within marriage was considered as a right of the spouse. But in recent times, engaging in the act without the consent of the spouse is now classified as rape and even criminalized in some climes. Which begs the question, is sexual rape even considered a thing in our society?
It is taken for granted that when you are married and you are someone's wife, the man has every right to have sex whenever he wants it. Whenever he wants it may not coincide with when the woman wants it. And rape is penetrating without your consent. So when a man has sex with his wife without a consent, it is rape.
Mrs. Faith Nwadishi shares with us her experience in dealing with women who have been victims of spousal rape and her takeaway from interactions on cultural and legal aspects of women's reproductive rights.
Even though where you have certain times you have laws and repercussions for flouting those laws, those things that concern tradition would actually sweep it on the ground. So you have a woman that has been married in a home. She wants to show that she can be pregnant. She wants to show that she can have children. If she doesn't have children, the family almost ostracizes her. She's called different kinds of names. When she even goes to meetings, her age grade meetings, and she's been married for so many years, and she's not been able to take in, even though she's undergoing some form of domestic violence in the house.
Reverend Mrs. Mercy Okpara, a counselor and a pastor, speaks with us on the religious point of view of what spousal rape could be and how it should be looked at.
The woman might be sick, and you need to understand as a husband, because her body is weak. That's why Paul goes on to talk about in verses 26, 27, 29, and we read further. He said a man cannot hurt himself. As you cannot hurt yourself as a man, you do not need to hurt your wife, because your wife is part of you. A man who cannot romance his wife, he cannot touch his wife, he cannot arouse the wife, he will only jump on her, jump on and jump out. That man is not doing the best he could do as far as relationship is concerned, because except the woman's body is elastically lubricated, she cannot enjoy sex. And when she proves stubborn, the man will complain. But the problem may be from the man that he's not romantic.
Oguniran, in the book Marital Submission, while extending the frontiers of marital rape to Nigeria, says all sexual intercourse within Nigeria is considered consensual. How did we get to a point where rape is not recognized as rape simply because the offender is a spouse? The laws are meant to protect people and their fundamental human rights. Is there a law protecting women from spousal rape? In England and Wales, the marital rape exemption was abolished in 1991 by the court. What is the situation in Nigeria?
The only thing that is close to acknowledging rape in our laws is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. It does not specifically talk about spousal rape, but its definition of rape is that an orifice is penetrated, whether it is with human body parts or with pencil or with whatever stick, whatever it is, without the consent of the owner of the body. And it does not exonerate husbands.
Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, which talk about fundamental rights, and in subsection 1 of that says every individual is entitled to respect for the dignity of his person and accordingly. So if we go by that, proving this will be a point. Like I would always say, there are some aspects of our laws that are still very weak.
In our Nigerian law, there is nothing like spousal rape. We wanted to try it. It was initially going to be one of the provisions, offenses in our VAT Act. Because of that, it took so long for the VAT Act the bill to be assembled to, and for the bill to really be taken as the first and second reading in the National Assembly. So it was kind of back and forth something until that activity, so that provision was expunged before it could go through. Eventually, we have what we have now as the VAT Act. So in the Nigerian laws, we don't have what we call spousal rape.
As common as sexual rape is from research, it is rarely reported in Nigeria. Why is this so?
Informally, yes. Informally. So if you are in a formal space, in a safe space, where the woman feels she will not be judged, where the woman feels there will not be a backlash, maybe her husband will not hear about it, because when the husband hears about it, there will be a backlash, and all of that, they open up to say the man just comes, penetrates, just like a carpenter driving a nail into a wood without thinking about the feelings of the wood. They do it and go away. But I don't know, the number of women reporting their husbands that they have raped them is very low. One study says it's just 1%. So unofficially, women talk about it when they feel safe to talk about it, when they feel that there will be no consequences. But unless that environment is provided, a woman is unlikely to report her husband.
There are a lot of women that are in such abusive marriages and they are enduring it, because most time too, when we go out to the communities and we speak with women, we see women who even community people say that this woman is in a serious abusive marriage, but that every year she comes out pregnant. So you are asking, is it that the condition of the marriage is so good and cool for her, that's why she gets pregnant? But you find that most of those pregnancies arise from spousal rape.
Generally, what could be the situation with women's reproductive rights in Nigeria?
She can't say, I must use a condom. The man will say, if you don't want to use condom, just she doesn't have control over her sexuality. And so all those issues led to what we term feminization of HIV.
OEDC has defined an index called the Social Institutions and Gender Index. And one of the indicators that they measure for every country is a woman's right to bodily integrity. This is my body. Nobody should slap me. Nobody should make me have more than the number of children I desire to have.
A conversation with the FIDA chairperson in Cross River State reveals that aspects of the bill that led to formation of the VAP Act that had to do with spousal rape were expunged to allow the law be passed. One begins to wonder, what do the men at the National Assembly have against formulation of laws and policies that will further the rights of women?
It is always said, if you do something without me, there are high possibilities that you will do that thing against me. So if women are not sitting at the table, definitely their concerns, their interests will not, their aspirations will not be taken into consideration.
The status quo works for them. They are the beneficiary of all of these things that we're agitating about. It is the men. So what do they have to lose? Nothing. Rather, a lot of them feel like they are ceding power, that every time they take one or two steps closer to this women empowerment thing, equality thing, they feel like they are letting go, they are being stripped of their own authority. So if you take that into consideration, then you see that it may be almost, we don't know how we're going to make progress because we don't have the numbers. And that's what we're talking about, representation. If you had the requisite number of women in the legislature, then maybe they would champion those causes and they would have the support. They will be able to garner the support, but we don't.
Spousal rape has not formally been criminalized in Nigeria, but the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act is clear about sexual assault. The law has to go further and recognize sexual invasion as an exploitative and violent act which should not be swept under the carpet, as it has serious effects like insomnia, PTSD, and other psychological effects on women. Women should also continually speak out while seeking counseling, as mental health issues associated with spousal rape affect productivity and the quality of life of women.
There are mental health issues linked with, the experience of rape. When somebody takes, something from you by force, or impose themselves on you by force, or in a manner that you don't even like, depression comes in, anxiety, panic attacks. There are some women that panic when their husbands are coming. In fact, some of them prefer that their husbands travel and never come back or stay very long.
No means no, even in marriage.